to start the week. These guys were asleep, I think, when it happened. It was it was almost 3 a.m. after the Celtics played last night, so I was still up writing. And to nobody's surprise, James Harden ends up on the Clippers. Philly doesn't get a ton back here, and we're gonna see what happens. I think everybody was sick of this trade talk by the time it got done. And it doesn't seem like it's going to change too much about the league, but we'll still kick it around. We'll still talk about it. I got Windows A here. It is Halloween, and who am I looking at here, Linda?
Are you serious?
I'm too young.
Guns N' Roses. Slash.
All right.
Black,
Whoa.
by the way.
And then we got our inmate, Anthony Vasquez.
Yeah. I
Welcome to
wasn't
the
hoping to do
show.
my full name, but it's great to be here while I got the time. If I got to skedaddle, I'll skedaddle.
And I didn't have a ton of time here, but I did throw together Terry Francona here. So we all got our Halloween thing going on, and we're going to talk some Harden. So what is it, Vasquez here? Covington, who returns to Philadelphia in this deal. Marcus Morris, the Philadelphia native, as well as Nick Batum, who can still give you some decent minutes at the wing here. But basically 3 expiring contracts, a couple picks coming over, an unprotected future one from the Clippers, swap, as well as I think something from the Thunder too in this deal, is part of a 3-team trade. So they get a bunch of stuff here, and Harden ends up in LA where he wanted to be.
What?
What do you take away from this, Vasquez?
For what it's worth, Harden, definitely got himself onto another team of his choice. He seemed to have quit on another team. And all we can do is, hope for the best. I think Philadelphia got an amazing return on it. Harden was not going to come back. And I think as soon as Morey realized that he got the best return he could with the expiring deals, maybe they make a big move beforehand, before the trade deadline. Still a long time to go. As far as Los Angeles is concerned, I'm really concerned for Russ. He's been playing really well, and Harden's arrival complicates matters for him. So, did they create more problems by adding him? We'll see.
I believe so, Linda. And I don't like this deal for the Clippers. I guess I get why they did it, just for excitement and consolidation reasons. But you got to pay them, which maybe they will, maybe they won't. You can't extend them yet because of the cap rules here. So they will take them to free agency. But you got 4 ball handlers here. The 2 worst of the 4 players need the ball more than the 2 better players. And obviously you cut out most of the team's depth in this deal and their ability to do stuff in the future. I just don't get it. I don't understand the urgency to go do this. And as much as you can look at Harden and say maybe he'll help their playmaking, maybe he'll just add another threat on offense that'll free guys up, you always know how it's going to end in the playoffs for him, which is all the Clippers really care about is championship right now. Nothing else matters for them. So Harden's never been a championship player, never really been a playoff performer. So I don't understand why they set their sights on him for all this consolidation.
What's going to be interesting, as you said, since he's expiring, is how is he going to quit on them when he doesn't have a team to go to next
1
year?
year from now?
Is it going to be the trade deadline? He's going to be like, I got to go once again. I do find it interesting. More even than depth is the opposite. Who starts? Is it Russ, Harden, PG, then Kawhi, and then Zubac? Or Zubac rather? Does Russ go back to the bench? Is he okay with that? Does Harden go to the bench? Like you said, he's definitely not okay with that. He hasn't been on the bench since Obama's first term, so 2011, 2012. So I just don't know how the lineup's going to show up. For me, I'm glad that it's once again the Clippers just, showing naivete in irresponsibility to actually get through the season. I don't know what it is. What I do know is that last year, Paul George played 50-something games, and Kawhi played 50-something games, and James Harden played 50-something games. So what's to say if that depth out, and these guys all play 50 games again. I mean, what does that roster look like when we get to February post All Star? What does that team look like in March, in April, right as you're trying to solidify your spot in the West? Getting home court means something. Are they primed for top four? Does this bring them up? I think it brings them down. They'll still make the playoffs. They have 50 games of them is good enough, but are they going to be in the position that they want to be? I don't think so. And especially as you look forward to next year, Paul George player option, Kawhi player option. Russ has whatever $3 million, so he'll be there. Harden's out. So what does this team look like this year? Plus going forward, I have no clue.
You have to think they're going to pay him. One thing you could say, Vasquez, is that if someone goes down for any amount of time here, which seems inevitable with this team, you have another guy in his place that can fill the scoring load, that can play make, do all the things that, basically the three guys that sent out here couldn't really do. And the picks don't mean a ton to them, especially if there weren't going to be other options to upgrade here. So I guess from that perspective, it makes sense. As far as the starting lineup, you have to think that the most straightforward answer is going to be starting both of them and sending Man back to the bench, which I don't love, which I wouldn't do. But when you have 4 stars, all of them want to start, that's probably the easiest thing to do here. But we saw what Harden and Russ looked like in Houston. It's a big reason Russ asked out of Houston. So from that perspective, I don't love it. But there is a case that if Kawhi misses 2 weeks, if George is out for a month, Harden's going to help them get through that stretch.
Definitely. I guess the big question here is, what is Harden's role as soon as he arrives to Los Angeles? Because if we remember early on, he wanted to apparently, have this basketball freedom to do what he wanted. That's why Houston was such an appealing option to him. But instead, he's going to a team where he's at least the third option on the offense behind Kawhi and PG. Maybe Russ and ball handling on some nights. Does he accept that role? Not entirely sure. I think he will.
Should be the point guard. Then I think he will be here, which you would think would send Russ to the bench, but we know how that went with the Lakers, right, Lindo? So I don't think he wants to do that. I don't think
Well,
they work together.
if you put Harden at the point guard, is Russ the 2 guard? That he'd be the first shooting guard who can't shoot.
I've said it for years, and
Yeah.
others have too. He should be a screener and roller in your starting lineup. And obviously Zubac is going to have to do some of that too. But Westbrook, D'Angelo Russell said, I want to be Derek White. Russell Westbrook should be trying to be Derek White. No, he obviously can't shoot like White, but screen, roll, do stuff off the ball. That's what he's going to do at this point in his career. And it was great. If Nate was here, he'd be saying, oh, look at what he did in the playoffs. But there's just not a situation unless all your players are hurt where you're going to be putting the ball in Westbrook's hands and letting him do his thing all game. Now, that's the position they were in before they made this trade, and it might have worked out, but I just don't see the I don't see the need to do this. Like, it just creates more problems to me than it does solutions for this team. And I know they've wanted a point guard forever, but if you were going to invest in Westbrook to do that like they did, why do you come along months later, less than a year later, and say, all right, let's get another guy in Harden?
Well, they did, and there was injury concerns last year, even into the playoffs. So the Russ thing, we don't know, but he did. It started off, what was it, 0 for 5, and I know a lot of people got harsh really quick, but he did in the playoffs start putting it together, and he did look like he had good chemistry. And if you have Westbrook on a team, it doesn't matter how he's shooting, doesn't matter how he's playing. He's going to be in there getting the crowd amped. He's going to get the players feeling good. So it seemed like they had a point guard and one who was going to fit on the team. And now they have a guy who you don't know, who's quit the last 3 teams in disaster mode. And it just looks like he's ready to quit a 4th. I don't know.
Already? No, I mean, I think
he's gonna have the honeymoon stage, and he's gonna play 20-ish games where he's scoring 20 and 10, and they're winning games, and it looks good, and there's no problems. And then he's gonna get hurt a little bit, and then he's gonna come back after missing however many games, and it's not gonna be great. And then he'll finish off the season all right, and then you'll get to the playoffs in the first round. You'll say, "Wow, he can play. This is vintage James Harden," which they've been saying every year. In the second round, and he'll collapse, and you'll say, "Why the fuck did they get him?" And we won't know why. We'll have no idea why.
But the big question here is if he quits on this team, where else does he go?
So
It seems
Windows
like
said China.
it seems like he wants the Stephon Marbury role. They built Stephon Marbury a statue in China, and he went when he was 33. James Harden's 34. He'll probably be 35 next year. They could build him a stadium, the James Harden Stadium in China, if they gave that to Marbury. I think that's what he's ready for. I think that's what's coming in a year. I don't see it how it's early. We haven't seen him even in the uniform yet, but I don't see how this works out and how he stretches his career after this, especially when we know it's only a matter of time before he gives up.
Yeah, and the worst is usually at the end of the postseason. We still haven't seen him put it together. The game 6 and 7 in last year, which ultimately ends up being his final statement in Philadelphia, is the lasting impression he left there. Bad 2022 series too against Miami in the first playoff run that they had there with the Sixers, and all along, Vasquez, I said, as he sat home and demanded a trade and try to board an airplane for the first game and some theatrics. Why not just rejoin the team full time? If it works, it works. If not, maybe they'll find a trade for you down the line and run back what honestly was a decent team last year. It was a top 10 offense, top 10 defense. He played well. He helped Embiid win MVP, and they had Boston 3-2. I was talking to someone and they were like, oh, awful ending, and I was like, if they just played a extra quarter in Game 6, they would have been on the East Finals. They would have been playing Miami. They probably could have beat Miami if they were fully healthy. So why not run it back? That's what I asked all along, but for some reason he had the whole Daryl Morey thing going and didn't like the way they handled the contract negotiations. So no penalties for Philadelphia over that. If there was a handshake agreement or not, nobody knows, but no penalties there. So I guess his thinking, according to the league at least, was that Morey said he was going to trade him fast and he didn't. And that's why he called Morey a liar, wouldn't show up to camp. And there you have it. Embiid never really said anything about it. Still hasn't said much as far as I can see about the team going forward here. But it just blows my mind still, Vasquez, that they couldn't just make this work. I mean, this is what he wanted leaving Brooklyn a couple of years ago. And I think he got what he wanted. A great situation, a big role on this team, a contender, a legitimate contender that could have feasibly won it all last year. And it wasn't enough. And I think, Lindo's talked about it. Does he just want money? Is that what it's all about?
I don't think it has to be just money, because it can't be competitive spirit. Realistically, you can't can't have a better teammate than the reigning MVP Joel Embiid. If you're choosing not to want to play with an MVP as the second option, and a realistic contender is the East, as you mentioned, where else would you go, and for why? Why would you consider Houston?
Right. Yeah, it's money. They had the money to spend. They were going to spend it on him to get their fans back or whatever it might be down there. Now he goes to the Clippers, which, this is still a winning situation, Lindo. I think there's a world maybe where they could go on a long run here if they catch some breaks and Kawhi plays at the level he's capable of, and he certainly looks good early on. George looks great early on here. You got Zubac down the middle, and you got a good coach. So you can't rule out them making some noise here. They're certainly going to be in the playoffs, and we'll see how the matchups line up here.
You know what I saw today? I saw Lou
I don't
Williams.
think it's a better situation than Philly, though.
Hold on. I saw Lou Williams talking about how the Clippers would have done if they hadn't gone to the bubble. And I saw 2 weeks ago another Clippers player talking about what it would have happened if they hadn't gone to the bubble. It seems like every year there's just an excuse on the Clippers and why they can't do it. So every year we hear this is the Clippers year. I don't believe any year is the Clippers year.
Going back to the Blake and Chris Paul team.
Especially not when you have Kawhi and Paul George, who, when they're out there for those 50 games, look like they are all NBA players, look like they're the team that should be their year. But they miss 30, and then they miss some of the playoffs every year. Now you add James Harden, who misses a bunch of games throughout the year. And unlike those two who actually play well in the playoffs, James Harden doesn't. So I don't see how it's their year this year. They reduced the size of their team in an era where big three is not the thing anymore. It's about your depth. A couple teams have made their big threes this year. We've seen it with the Suns. We've now seen it with the Bucks. And now we've seen it for the Clippers. So we've seen the big threes, but this era isn't about big three anymore. And when you trade 3 players for 1.5 in Harden and PJ Tucker, and I think there's a third guy.
No
But
love
when
for
you trade it
Tucker.
when you trade it for 1.5 players, that's not going to work out. It's not.
Tucker does come over in this deal, as well as Philip Petrasev
Yeah.
is the other guy, a
Yep.
minimum guy. So, yeah, there's not a ton of depth here. You still got Bones Highland, Kobe Brown, who I love. We'll see what he's capable of as a rookie here. Plumlee's still in the mix, so I guess you can do a Plumlee Tucker thing off the bench with Man. But finding some lineup balance is going to be tricky for them. They're going to be good in the regular season, though, Vasquez. It's just all about what's left over for the playoffs, as Lindo said. Are Kawhi and George healthy? And then from there, I think you're just going to have to sacrifice a little bit if you're Harden and Russ to make some stuff work here. And they struggled to do it in Houston. Harden didn't seem to love doing it in Philly, even though they were winning. And here they are. I mean, the one thing you can say, I guess, is that their chances don't change much for the worse here. There's some upside with them for the better. And you do have the backup option if somebody gets hurt here. So I don't foresee it going well. I guess I can understand the thinking behind it. But ultimately, Vasquez, how far do you see this team going in that West?
I think best case scenario, we're looking at a Western Conference Finals appearance. But realistically, there's no way that they're going to beat a Denver Nuggets team in a 7-game series, regardless of whether they get home court or not.
Let's
Because
say,
Can they
like,
beat a
these
Kings
players
team?
perform to that
Can they
level.
beat the Kings? Can they beat the Suns? Can they beat, this is more than just the Nuggets that this team I don't think is prepared for.
Oh, absolutely. They're not prepared for any team in the West. The Suns are definitely better than them. The Kings, it depends on the series. If Kawhi is healthy, there's a possibility. But no, they're not going to the finals. This is not a championship contender.
are they ready for the Thunder if they're the 4 seed?
It'll be an interesting series, but I do see the youth of the Thunder, coming back to haunt them.
The
Listen,
Paul
we have
George
their next
Revenge
4 picks
series.
anyways, so it's worthwhile.
So that's the fun part here. If Obas was here, we'd be talking about how the Nets have the Rockets pick as they start 0-3, and they have plenty of Philly picks into the future because of the Harden trade here. So Philly, let's talk about them. First, I want to give a shout out to FanDuel, who's now offering $150 when you make a $5 winning money line bet. You got to go out there and win this bet to get your bonus bets, but it's easy enough. Pick a winner. Our friend Nate does it every week. He just picks the teams that he thinks are going to win, and he comes out positive almost every time. So maybe he'll share some with you to get this $150 bonus bets. Just a $5 money line bet gets you that bonus. So head over to fanduel.com/Boston. College, pro, still going, football, as well as basketball right now. College basketball going to be getting going soon as well. We'll see what Syracuse is capable of. And all the action, make every moment more over at FanDuel, fanduel.com/Boston, the official sports wagering partner of CLNS Media, and a big supporter of the Garden Report as well as Dome Theory here. Again, fanduel.com/Boston, $150 in bonus bets when you head over there. There's the full offer right there in front of you. 21 plus present in mass. First online real money wager only. $5 pregame money line wager required, and it's $10 first deposit as well. Bonus bets, non-withdrawable, 7 days after receipt, they will expire. So, again, shout out to FanDuel. Let's talk Sixers. So, it's not a team I was worried about from a Celtics perspective coming into this year because of all the drama, because of what we saw from Embiid and Harden in the playoffs, even if they did make something work here. And now they're going to have to figure something else out, right? You got the Bucks, you got the Heat, who, might rally together and go on a playoff run like they usually do here. Knicks look good. You got a bunch of teams here in the East that are probably ahead of them as they stand right now, even with Embiid, the reigning MVP, able to, heighten them to at least playoff status above that play-in line, I would say is their floor. But Covington maybe helps you with some shooting and defense. Morris really was struggling over the last year plus here for the Clippers. Can't see him doing a ton. Batum, older player. Again, probably not giving this team a ton, especially when you have Harris and others in front of him. You lose Tucker in this deal as well. Maxi's been great. I think people always believed in his ability to hold it down there, and now he gets even more freedom with Harden out of the picture. But there's not a great ceiling here, Lindo. I don't see anything more than the second round, which I guess you could argue was their ceiling before. But now you might be talking about a first round exit for this team in a 4-5 matchup.
I said before, how many weeks ago did I say it? You don't have to play a single game. We can sim the season, get to the playoffs. You know what is happening in the second round. Joel Embiid is losing. But you watched Moneyball, right? If you compare Harden to Covington, Batum, and Marcus Morris, the stats are right there, pretty much the same. It's a flip on
Well, Harden was
assists and
0, right?
rebounds.
Because he wasn't going to be playing for them.
I know, and so there's a flip on rebounds, but 3-point percentage is the same. You're still getting 38 from them. The points are the same, around that 22 to or 21 and 23 mark. So you're moneyballing it if you really want to, but in seriousness, you get extra wing help. Marcus Morris he's been off, but he could always come back. New scenario. We always see players just blow up when they get to a new environment, new expectations, etc. You have reigning MVP Embiid. You've got Maxey, who's ready to be a star. You've got Korkmaz, who can't wait to get on the court. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I like I said, this is going to be a good team, like they were. And they're going to lose in the second round, like they always do.
Maxey 30-6 through his first 3 games.
Yeah.
So he's on his way to most improved. Oubra's looked good there too. They had that good game against the Bucks. So they have some scorers. They certainly have enough points here. They have depth. They even have defense down the line when you consider a Beverly. They had to cut Danny Green in this deal, so that doesn't mean a ton probably here. But Daniel House, is that a guy you could go to down the line here? There's options as you talk about Melton, good
Aggie.
player.
Melton's
So
a fantastic player.
So they have enough, and the coaches has them playing differently. Like there's definitely some more defensive emphasis for this team, with the pieces they have here. Adding some wings will only help that. And then offensively, tons of movement. They've gotten Tobias Harris involved, which always hasn't been a given with them. He's been off to a great start here. So Harden was good for them, but maybe they can win in a different way with some movement, with defense, with activity, as Nick Nurse teams often do here. Just scrambling around Lindo like those old Raptors used to do. I think there's an argument for that, Vasquez. But what do you see their ceiling as right now?
I absolutely, definitely see them as an Eastern Conference finalist. I
Really?
think everybody should. I do think that. Absolutely, Maxey is going to be a superstar one day in this league. He is a bucket getter.
I love this
And
game.
I think the freedom offered by Harden not being there is going to do wonders. He's fresh legs. He's competitive. He has that dog in him. And I think that'll, Joel Embiid is still going to be 30 and 10. So as long as they got that, they'll go far. I think this will be a different year.
There's a case, and the Celtics going to see them twice over the coming weeks here, a week from Wednesday in Philly, and then the week after that in Philly as well. So they'll have a couple meetings with them, probably before the final product of this team, though, Linda, because if they have their way, I don't think this is the team they'll go into the playoffs with here. You keep hearing Zach LaVine. I've heard it a million times over the past however many months here since Harden made the trade demand. And now it seems like it's really a name that they're putting out there that they'll pursue with these extra pieces they picked up in this trade. He's on a long-term deal. At times you see him able to score, able to shoot threes, able to be this dynamic piece on offense. He's pretty rough defensively. So if they're going to pair him with Max in the backcourt, it's not going to go well on defense. But it consolidates all those wings, I guess, into one star. And you have a bit of a big three, per se, between Embiid, Maxey, and LaVine at that point. It's not great. It's definitely a downgrade from Harden if they make it happen, I'd say. And there's always injury concerns with him, too. But it's probably the best they can do at this point.
We've had several years beyond the Big Three era. I mean, I can think probably at the end of the Cavs, so 2018-19 into that season. Since then, we've had an end to the Big Three era, and it seems like if Zach LaVine was to head over, it almost seems like the league is saying, actually, no, we're back. We're back to a Big Three era. And I don't know how the Celtics stack it up, who their third is, if it's Drew or it's Porzingis,
Brown,
but
and Tatum, yeah. Well,
however you stack that up, like it might just be going back to a big three era, and the league is done with the depth, that would definitely be really interesting. But Zach LaVine, do people really want this guy? He's a guy who's always a name like, oh, someone could go get him, and the same with DeRozan, and in that manner, the Bulls couldn't really do anything with him, and they were, there was all kinds of concerns, injuries afloat everywhere. But I just don't know if LaVine is a real name anymore. I don't think so. I think after the Bulls started so well, was that 2 or 3 years ago? They started the season so well, and they got to the playoffs, and just everything flopped. I think that was really the end of like, yeah, we really trust LaVine to be like that guy. I just don't know it. And when I think of the Bulls now, I don't think of LaVine. I think of DeMar DeRozan. For better or worse, I think of DeRozan. I don't even think of LaVine. LaVine is very expensive.
How many more years does he have
He's a
left?
reliable guy.
I think 4. I think he signed an extension.
Oh, dear Lord.
Yeah, you're bringing on a lot of money when you're talking about bringing on Zach LaVine. So, do it at your own risk. But the alternative for the Clippers or for the Sixers was paying Harden, which might have been an even worse gamble.
Zach
Yeah.
LaVine is through 2027. 40 this year, 43, 46, 48.
Wow.
I just don't know. He's
It's a
still
shaky
young.
deal.
He's
He's only
28.
28.
He's 28, but the guy, especially when we keep getting these reports that Embiid is thinking about heading out. If he's
That's the scary
considering a
part.
move. So if you lock in on LaVine and Embiid goes, and then you just have LaVine reduce depth, you better hope those picks work out.
Yeah, I mean, the picks aren't going to play into the Embiid era here. I think they're going to be used to go get a star. I don't know if DeRozan makes a ton of sense for this team, especially if you want the ball in Maxi's hands. He's just not a guy who's going to do much without the ball. So maybe he could come off the bench for this team. I don't know. That might be best for him at this point, but I won't rule.
Off the bench?
I mean,
DeRozan on the bench.
if you need the ball in your hands, sometimes the best move's coming off the bench because you'll have the
What did he
ball in
score?
your
Like
hands.
25 last year? He's coming off the bench now?
Yeah.
Maybe on this team. Does he want to win?
Do they want to win? Why are they getting DeRozan? That doesn't even make any sense.
I'm
Yeah.
just throwing another name out there. So do you guys have any other names? OG Anunoby's a name that's been tossed around. Siakam's available potentially here.
You lose James Harden, and you get OG Anunoby.
Defense.
They need a playmaker.
It seems like Toronto doesn't want to let go of him. They always offer him and then never trade him.
Yeah, I mean, they got to make a call this year, though, because those guys are going to be free agents, Siakam and Anunoby. So that's another name to watch. You guys get any other that would make sense for this team?
Let's see Trae Young get out of there. Everyone keeps talking about he can't do it. They'd be better off without him. They can win without him. Let's see him go.
I don't know if they have enough.
Trae and Embiid would look like. Well, they just got depth. They just got numbers.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't see that one. I think someone else would have a better offer for him.
Okay, so
Vasquez.
you tell me the playmaker. Tell me the playmaker, Bobby.
I'm going DeRozan, but he's got to come off the bench.
Then you don't have a playmaker.
Is DeRozan a playmaker? Is that like what he's considered though? A ball handler?
Yeah, he's come a long way with it, especially those San Antonio teams. He was a great passer for them. And the Bulls, he's not Lonzo Ball, but he's done a decent job there. Again, if he's got the ball in his hands, he'll be great. If not, it's a little trickier. I guess Maxey can move off ball, but that's what you're talking about now in Philly. You went from Ben Simmons to Harden to
DeMar
LaVine
DeRozan.
or DeRozan or OG Anunoby.
Maybe they could trade Ben Simmons again.
I tossed that around. How have you guys liked him? He's looked decent so far, huh?
He's close to a triple double. He just needs points.
All right, that's our Harden talk for now. We'll see how he does. I don't think he's going to play for this team anytime soon. He's going to ramp up, so we'll see how that goes. We'll check in with our teams real quick before we get out of here. Vasquez, the Thunder fan, excited about the start. They're 2-1. Tough loss to the Nuggets, but overall a real rock solid start for a team I like this year as well.
Absolutely, they're young, they're competitive. Coach Dagnall has definitely had them playing disciplined ball. And Shea is exactly who we know he is. He's a top 5 player. He's an MVP candidate. I definitely envision them going far. they could be in the Western Conference Finals. Now, whether they would actually win it, I think there may be a year or two away, maybe one more move.
Yeah,
But
maybe
bright
another
future
veteran though.
ahead with like 35 picks in the next 5 years.
26, 7, and 6 so far for Shea with 2.5 steals through 4 games.
On pretty good efficiency as well.
48%, yeah. Jalen Williams up to 15. There's this Chet who's got 3 blocks a game so far. I
Has
love
to
that
lead
guy.
the league.
As well as 4 assists for Giddey, who's shooting a little shaky now from the field, but he'll come around. Lindo. Lakers, I'd say a little below my expectations so far. The new guys haven't done a ton, and they scrapped out that win against the Suns, but overall,
And
it's
the
been a little
Magic.
bit of a struggle for them.
And the
Oh my
Magic.
God, the
The
Magic!
lucky Suggs
Ah.
missed that. You know, it's something about this purple and gold. It's been the Vikings for the last 3 years, and it's been the Lakers for at least the last 2, last season and now this. It's so funny. I don't know what it is, but the Lakers, it doesn't matter if they're playing the Bucks or the Rockets. The game will be close in the fourth quarter if you check it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who they play. Whatever the standard is of the game, they're just playing to that, and they could win, but they'll probably lose. It's the strangest thing ever. Reeves is not firing well. Two nights ago, he was a disaster. He couldn't hit a shot. They had to bench him. He was like 1 for 12. AD since the Nuggets game, I mean, he's been reading the comments. He's been, I think it's 30, 30, and 26, double-digit
26
rebounds
and
every night.
19 in that
He's
Magic
he's
one.
he's balling. LeBron is going to be LeBron. You just don't know. He's going to be great and make you furious at the same time. And that loss to the Kings, I think in the second half plus overtime, he was like 9 for 13, right? He was unstoppable, but as soon as you take him off, just like in the Nuggets game, the team has no idea what to do. It's the strangest thing ever because the players can't shoot. They don't rebound, but they're still in the game every time. I don't understand it. I can't explain it. I'm hoping that them staying in all these games, they will eventually start winning them. And they won against the Magic, doesn't matter how ugly. They won against the Suns, doesn't matter that they're playing bums. They kept it too close
Playing bums?
and then failed. It was, yes, Beal and Booker were out.
Oh,
So,
I thought you meant the Magic.
No, the Suns. But, even against the Kings, they're keeping up with them. They're playing them hard, and it's just right when you get to overtime, no one can make a shot. Gabe Vincent can't make a shot. I don't know how they have him. I didn't think that the money was that bad for him, but I didn't believe in him. Now I think the money's too bad. Now I think he's a minimum player. But we're only 4 games in. Vincent can't hit a shot. You can't ask Taurean Prince to be Michael Jordan every game. He can't hit all those shots. Austin Reeves, if he's misfiring, he might be the game holder every game. If Reeves plays well, we win. If Reeves plays bad, we lose. It should
That's a bad place
be
to
AD, but it
be.
looks like he's going to be playing well every game. So he's going to need other people out there. AD is the only superstar who struggles for touches at the end of games. I don't know if it's because he's a big and they need shots, whatever it is. He's the guy who has the torch from LeBron, and he can't seem to take it no matter what. I don't know what it is, but I'm hopeful.
Yeah, there's certainly hope there if Davis and LeBron are rolling. Unfortunately, again, seems like too much is on LeBron's plate there. And then we have the Celtics, who 3-0.
Are they
got the
winning games?
Pacers
I haven't
Wednesday.
even seen. Are they winning?
They are just tearing through everybody. And some good
I haven't
crunch
even
time.
seen. I didn't watch.
Some good crunch time finishes, too. The Heat went and overcame a late deficit against them. I think they trailed by 13 in that game and ended up winning. Great crunch time execution. Porzingis fouled out, and they still won late. And then opening night against the Knicks. Rock solid win. Excellent defense. Held Randall to a 1 for 10 start with Holiday on him for the most part. And
nail biter
Porzingis,
versus Jordan Poole.
Yes. Well, Poole came out and did the Curry a couple different times. I forget if the turnaround and no look 3 was that game. I think that was the game before. But then he came and dribbled up into the paint, walked it out with his back to the
And
basket, and
Porzingis
just turned
just
around, and
blocked the fuck out of that
Porzingis
shot.
just sent it flying. Yeah,
They're
so
not a serious team. They're in there just playing around. They're just showing up to get a check.
they're the worst team in the league. I think we all had them under too in our over-under last week, which is
yeah.
looking good so far. Although they beat the Grizzlies, who are looking scary bad right
The
now.
Grizzlies are a worse team, but they'll
Yeah.
have Ja coming back. Who's coming back for the Wizards?
Can't be 0-25 when Jack comes back, though, so they're going to need to get some win here. Bad start there. They don't have a lot of depth, clearly, but Smart's played well so far, so that's all I care about. A couple more sponsors before we get out of here, and thanks to Vasquez, who I think's gone. Oddsr.com/Celtics, great pair for FanDuel. Head over there. You're going to get a green rating for bets. They're good to go, recommended. Yellow for slow down. I would think twice about this one. And then red, don't do it. Oddsr.com/Celtics for 30 days free of that AI learning. Great picks. They don't take your bet. They suggest bets. They rate your bet, and they want you to win your bet over at oddsr.com/Celtics. So check them out, as well as HelloFresh.com/CLNS50. One of my favorite sponsors. I always say it. Meals to your door, dozens and dozens of options, customized for the season. They got their fall fresh options, quick and easy. Meals in under 25 minutes. You got the prepackaged ingredients. You got the laid out instructions in front of you. So even if you're someone who hates to cook, this is a great option for you, and you can customize it to your diet, when it comes, how often it comes. HelloFresh.com/CLNS50 for 50% off and free shipping of HelloFresh. And that's our show for today. Go subscribe, iTunes, Stitcher, all the rest. Group chats here every week, usually Tuesday nights, I think we're going to aim for here. And thanks again to Anthony Vasquez making his first appearance here from the group chat. And Lindo Zay is always here. Happy Halloween. Hope you enjoyed
Syracuse
it.
has scarred me, but we're still looking forward to basketball. Go Orange. Let's go Autry.
Yes. And if Dino can solve the riddle of what can
If he can
save
get
his job.
fired sooner rather than later. If he can get, that's the riddle. Find out that we sold your house, Dino Babers. You're out of here. We burned it down.
Dino is probably out of here. But we'll have Syracuse talk another day. I'm Buddy Man. This is Dome Theory.